Madden 95 is a smooth-moving, offense-oriented football game that's not too simple, not too complex. It's the fifth of 8 Madden games on Genesis. The earlier versions showed lots of promise but were troubled with passing windows that ruined the passing game on offense and defense. EA wised up and Madden 95 is the glorious result. Madden 96 is a curious misstep that plays way too fast, but EA returned to quality gameplay for Madden 97 and Madden 98, which include a few advancements and clearer graphics. Those games are often hailed as the peak of 16-bit Madden, but I think 95 is the best of the bunch. This game is built on a good foundation of gameplay that feels enough like real football. There's always a lot happening. The players move with flow and momentum, and they're faster than in earlier editions. The control may initially feel a bit awkward, but you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. Offense is intuitive. You've got a good view of the field and your 3 receivers. Passes travel at a good speed. You can easily throw bullets or rainbows with a hold or tap of the button. You often need to steer the receiver to the ball, which works well once you get the feel for it. The only issue is that offensive linemen usually don't form a good pocket or running lanes. It's tough to avoid sacks and knockdown passes. The saving grace is that quarterbacks are still accurate when flushed out of the pocket, and running backs can shed tackles. The rest of the controls are basic and intuitive. Running, tackling, and defending passes are all easy to handle. The play calling is simple, and you're in and out of the huddle in a flash. You can flip plays and put a receiver in motion, which are key ingredients. The playbooks could use more depth, though. You'll rerun the same plays often. There's a good chaos factor, making no 2 contests alike. There are enough interceptions, fumbles, and dropped passes to make games unpredictable. Oddly, the graphics are pretty rough compared to earlier versions. Teams wearing all white are particularly off-putting. The sound is also lacking. There are familiar grunts and cheers and Maddenisms, but overall it doesn't sound like you're in a stadium. The CPU is pretty easy to beat, and there's only one difficulty setting, so you may need to choose a low-tier team for a challenge when playing solo. The NFL was loaded with talent in 1994. Jerry Rice, Dan Marino, Steve Young, Barry Sanders, and Reggie White are among the finest athletes to ever compete in the nearly 100-year-old league, and they were at the height of their game in '94. EA brought in these legendary names, as well as the rest of the '94 NFL rosters exclusively for the Sega Genesis port of Madden NFL 95. Along with being the first fully NFL-licensed Madden football game, 95 pushed the franchise closer to the modern-day simulation that we play on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Developers completely rebuilt the game, both graphics and gameplay engines were given an overhaul, and the original arcade style of the first 4 John Madden Football Genesis games was left behind. It was as if EA gave up in the presentation battle with Sega's NFL series with Madden 95, little to no effort at all. A bland, dark title screen with the intro of the epic NFL on Fox theme song starts you off. You also get the Fox logo in the bottom right corner during gameplay. Navigating through the game's interface is quite easy, it's just all so plain, quiet, and well, bland. No flashy intros, player pictures, or anything really, just a few pre-rendered photos of John Madden. The music and sound is improved over any of the previous over-the-top, annoying, raunchy guitar sounds used in previous Maddens. The commentary still only consists of Madden's usual lines, though his voice does sound much better than the cheese grater filtered samples used in '94. His best line in the game is easily his farewell, "Hi, this is John Madden for EA Sports, saying goodbye, and thanks for playing." The in-game sound effects are much more tolerable, and the music, while nothing memorable at all, and a bit on the flat side, is a nice little improvement over any Madden before it. You do unlock a song if you win the Super Bowl, which is the better tune out of the 3 or 4 in the game, but still as a whole the presentation in Madden '95 was pretty bland, and effortless. William Robinson and High Score Productions took over Genesis development of the Madden football series from Park Place Productions in 1993. Even though the burly, man sprites in the Genesis version of Madden '94 are large, highly detailed, and very well animated, the game suffered from some occasional slowdown, minor sprite flickering in certain areas of the field, and sloppy scaling effects. In order to improve these aspects for '95, William Robinson and company moved away from the cartoony, hand-drawn sprites and instead went for more of a faux 3D, pre-rendered, digitized-looking player model. They look great, until they move. What happened to the animation? In Madden '94 everything moved so fluidly, players would hammer the ground with their fist out of frustration of a missed tackle, or do a backflip when hit hard enough. Madden '95 took a big hit in the animation department, as the players' movements are quite choppy. The field was reworked to be more accurately scaled according to the player size, and everything was given a more realistic, cleaner look compared to the previous installment with much better scaling/field scrolling effects. The team colors are spot on, even the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars, who weren't even in the league yet, and had to be unlocked via cheat code, both home and away jerseys, right down to the 2-pixel wide stripe down the side of the player's pants legs. At first glance the graphics don't really look all that better than the Madden '94/Bill Walsh college football engine, they certainly weren't as well animated, but once you play for a while you'll notice that they allow for much more realistic gameplay. The new gameplay engine has its advantages as well as its disadvantages. One of the advantages is the new windowless passing mode, which opens up the passing game quite a bit, as you now have to scan the field rather than use the 3 boxes at the top of the screen to find the open receiver in previous Maddens. There is somewhat of a learning curve to the passing game, as getting the ball over the line of scrimmage without it getting deflected takes some practice. '95 is also the first game in the Madden series with the 2-point conversion, which was only used in college games prior to the '94 season. The biggest improvement to the gameplay was the computer AI, which would now run down the clock if ahead, go for onside kicks when behind, run the no-huddle offense, and maybe just maybe even beat you sometime during the course of the 16-game season. The season mode was also improved over '94, with full stat tracking and player injuries providing some replay value over the previous bare-bones Madden games. Even though there aren't any pictures of the players, and only their numbers are still referenced to during gameplay, the names are a nice touch. It is nice to see the names when making substitutions and when viewing season stats. The playbooks were given a much-needed facelift as well, with nice additions on both sides of the ball. The controls are quite easy to learn since they only used 3 buttons in the traditional Madden layout. They just seem a bit unresponsive and inaccurate compared to earlier entries, which seems to stiffen the gameplay up a bit. You'll notice that the moves just don't work like they used to in Madden '93/'94. You can't break tackles like a maniac with the spin move anymore. You can't dive 15 yards to sack the quarterback or score a touchdown anymore either, which takes a good bit of the fun out of the game, to be honest. Sometimes the controls can just feel awkward, especially when you attempt to block a kick/punt and instead of jumping up or diving forward the player performs an offensive spin move. Occasionally, when running an interception back or making a big break for the end zone on offense, the speed burst button will make your player high step instead, causing you to temporarily lose control of the player, resulting in him running out of bounds short of the end zone, possibly losing the game for you. It seems like making use of the 6-button controller would have helped these issues, more laziness. Much unlike the first few Madden games, 95 is not very beginner-friendly, as some knowledge of American football is required to really find any enjoyment in it. Even though Madden 95 has glitchy controls, and lacked the arcade fun factor of its predecessors, the improved AI, expanded playbooks, and improved season mode were much-needed refinements to the gameplay and give the game a bit more replay value when playing solo. The new features are nice, and the graphics do look and perform better, but I'd rather have the old style of gameplay from previous years' installments with the tight, easy controls that came with it. Sure, the old games were way too easy, but they were so much more fun to play with other people that it's ridiculous. Even with 4 players via the EA 4-way adapter, the multiplayer experience just doesn't compare at all to the arcade style of gameplay in Madden 93 or 94. Overall, the steps forward with the features give Madden 95 more single-player replay value than the previous games, but the steps backwards with the gameplay and controls really take the fun out of the game. Madden NFL 95 introduced a few things to the series that we take for granted these days in our nearly flawlessly simulated game, and for that it deserves respect. If you're only a casual retro gamer, looking for a Madden to pick up for your collection, I'd say keep looking. If you're a football nuthead like me, I'd say pick it up, and play a season with your favorite team. It's better than average 16-bit football and a decent game to be had for a great price.